I'm Ray Goodfellow. I'm a Director and Principal Officer at IRIS NDT, so I manage the engineering group. IRIS NDT has been around since, for about 53 years now. I mean, we've got operations in Canada, the US, the UK. We've got about 700 people worldwide. I'd like to talk to you today about integrated management systems. The reason for integrated management systems is due to the complexity of our organizations. When you take a look at how you manage the integrity of your assets, sometimes people think, well, I've got an asset integrity group, but that's really not managing the integrity of your assets. So an integrated system is really about tying together all the pieces of your company and making sure everyone has a clear understanding of what they do, what are their roles and responsibilities, and how they're part of the whole. I've used this diagram to try and illustrate what an integrated management system is. These type of circle diagrams you're probably all familiar with. You've seen them before, kind of the plan, do, check, act type cycle. And this is just a variation that I've been using. This circle diagram represents some of the core elements that need to be in place in an integrated system. So you start off with the strategy and planning. You've got your core enablers of risk management and change. You've got your life cycle activities from design and construct to mitigate, monitor, inspect. You have your continuous improvement cycle and management review. The ultimate objective of an integrated integrity management system is to ensure that you can actually effectively execute those core on-the-ground technical programs. All of these other things, your core enablers of risk management, management of change, your continuous improvement, review, and strategy, these are all things that tend to support the effective execution of these day-to-day technical programs. In industry over the last number of years, there's been some very significant failures that have caught a tremendous amount of public, regulatory, and industry attention. You know, one of the ones that really triggered a lot of the current advancements was the disaster at El Paso, where 12 people were killed when a sweet gas pipeline exploded. And more recently, there was San Bruno, again, where a pipeline ruptured in the middle of a subdivision and 8 people were killed. There's been very significant oil spills. There was the one in North Slope of Alaska that triggered an enormous amount of public scrutiny and regulatory scrutiny. There's the one in the Kalamazoo Creek that happened in the US just a few years ago. And more recently, there was a very significant failure in the Red Deer River. All of these failures triggered a lot of industry and regulatory review of how people were managing the integrity of the systems. And in every case, they came back to understanding there were some significant gaps in how we as an industry were managing the integrity and risks of our pipelines. Recently, I've utilized this type of an approach here in a little more detailed structured version of this to help companies do a fairly high-level gap assessment of their programs. And we've sat down at the vice president, COO level of organizations with the senior asset integrity people, and actually taken a critical look at how their organization operated. And we found that very quickly companies could understand where the gaps were in their programs. And they also understood what were the importance of them. Many of them were flagged as red, some very critical things they needed to do. The advantage of this is it provides a fairly comprehensive yet simplified structure, a way of looking at your system and understanding where you're at. To sum up, there's 2 reasons why companies develop integrated integrity management systems. The number one reason is because it makes good business sense. I've worked with a number of the companies, for example, that have been, were involved in some of these very serious failures, and they looked at those failures and took a look at their lessons learned and made significant changes in their companies to try and prevent a reoccurrence of those type of failures. A number of other companies I've worked with have been very proactive and said, well, we've seen what happens to other companies. We're going to put things in place so it doesn't happen to us. And I've worked with companies that have built these kind of integrated approaches, for all their assets, pipelines, pressure equipment, tanks, throughout their global operations. This kind of a proactive approach can equally applies to small companies as it does to large companies. The other reason people need to do it is because, well, it's inevitable. The public outcry, the regulatory pressure is driving that type of change. Everything I've been involved in recently, whether it's the NEB Safety Forum or reviewing current changes to regulations, change is inevitable. If we don't proactively move that direction, the regulators will force us. I've been passionate about this for a long time. I've done a number of workshops, I've done a lot of presentations around integrated integrity management. If you'd like some additional information or you want to discuss some ideas and concepts, just feel free to give me a call at the number below. Thank you.